The red sun of Kalira 7 hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the jagged cliffs and dusty plains. The wind whistled through the rocks, carrying fine sand that stung the eyes and clung stubbornly to exposed skin. Human engineer Ethan Vance adjusted the visor of his helmet and squinted at the horizon. He had landed here to perform a routine repair on a minor satellite relay. At least that was what his mission brief had said. In reality, it was as boring as it sounded. Check, repair, leave. Ethan's boots crunched over the rocky ground as he trudged toward the relay. He had seen many alien worlds in his career, but Kalira 7 was different. It was harsh, unforgiving, and entirely empty, or so it seemed. His communicator crackled once, then again, but the only response was static. "Great," he muttered under his breath. "Even the comms are broken out here." He shook his head, annoyed. Still, he pressed on. As he approached a narrow canyon, something unusual caught his eye, a glint of metal, half buried in the sand and rock. Ethan stopped and crouched to examine it. It wasn't part of the landscape. It was a spaceship, but unlike anything he had ever seen before. Sleek curves, glowing seams of energy along the hull, and symbols etched in a language he couldn't read. The ship was small, fast-looking, and badly damaged, its hull scarred from some recent impact. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Well, this is definitely not in the mission brief," he said aloud, his voice carrying over the wind. Engineers were trained to assess situations calmly, but curiosity was hard to resist. He activated his scanner and the readout confirmed what he had guessed: life signs. The ship was occupied. Before he could react further, a soft, musical voice echoed from inside the hull. "Is someone there?" Ethan froze. Yes, I'm an engineer, I can help." A hatch opened and a figure appeared. She was unlike any life form he had ever seen. Slender, tall, with skin that shimmered faintly like liquid silver under the sun. Her eyes glowed a gentle blue, and her hair floated slightly as if underwater. She looked around cautiously, then at Ethan, assessing him in a way that made him feel both nervous and noticed. I'm Princess Lyra of the Calaran Empire," she said, her voice steady but tinged with worry. "My ship, it malfunctioned. I need repairs immediately." Ethan blinked. "Princess? Empire, right, okay, don't worry, I'll fix it. I've repaired ships before." "You're safe." He stepped closer, his hands already reaching for his tool kit. Lyra studied him silently as he began examining the ship. Every movement Ethan made was precise, calm, and methodical. He didn't panic, didn't fumble, and didn't ask for her to do anything dangerous. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. Humans were unusual, simple, honest, efficient. These were qualities her people admired, though they rarely saw them in outsiders. Hours passed as Ethan worked. The ship's energy conduits were damaged, the propulsion system overloaded, and the control interface had been fried by the impact. He moved quickly but carefully, replacing circuits, calibrating sensors, and rewiring connections. Lyra remained silent, watching him, occasionally offering guidance when he asked technical questions about alien systems. "You're very careful," she said finally. Ethan glanced up. "Careful is part of the job. I don't want anything to explode." "Trust me, I've seen what happens when you rush." He smiled lightly, wiping sweat from his brow. "Besides, your ship deserves better than shoddy work." Lyra's lips curved slightly, though she did not speak further. In the Calaran Empire, actions mattered more than words. Choosing a lifemate was not about conversation or charm. It was about character. Every move, every choice, every small act revealed who a person truly was. And Ethan was showing qualities few outsiders ever displayed. As the sun sank lower, Ethan tested the final circuits. The ship hummed back to life, lights flickering on across the panels. Lyra let out a soft sigh of relief, and for a moment her usual composure softened. "You did it," she said simply. "Just a job," Ethan replied, brushing dust from his hands. "Nothing special." Lyra's eyes lingered on him. Nothing special. His humility, his focus, his patience. It all said more than words ever could. She had seen many beings in her life, many suitors and candidates for life mates, but none like this human. There was something in him, a rare combination of intelligence, courage, and humility that made her heart and perhaps her people take notice. What, what will you do now? Ethan asked, curious. He hadn't expected a princess in distress, much less one who watched him with such intensity. Lyra hesitated. I must continue my mission, but your actions have shown much, perhaps much more than you know. Ethan laughed nervously. Glad I could help. But seriously, I didn't do anything special. You did everything, Lyra corrected softly, and sometimes that is more than enough. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, a distant rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the cliffs, and the wind seemed to howl more fiercely. Ethan looked up, alarmed. Storm? Lyra shook her head. No, something approaching. We must leave quickly. Ethan's mind raced. Right, okay, we'll get the ship ready fast. Together they moved quickly. Ethan checked the engine, recalibrated the navigation system, and ran diagnostics on the energy shields. Lyra operated the controls with grace, but she kept glancing at Ethan, evaluating every decision he made under pressure. As the threat grew nearer, a band of scavenger drones drawn to the damaged ship, Ethan's ingenuity shone. He modified the energy output of the shields, creating a temporary barrier that confused the drone's sensors. They hovered, scanning, but unable to lock on. Lyra's eyes widened in surprise and admiration. You are clever, she said. I just think fast when things go wrong, Ethan replied with a shrug. Survival's a good motivator. The drones eventually gave up, retreating into the red horizon. Ethan exhaled, exhausted. Lyra's gaze softened. You are, unlike any human I have observed, she said quietly. Ethan wiped his forehead. I think that's a good thing. Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped closer, inspecting the ship systems once more. The sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars appeared. A soft, ethereal glow came from her skin in the dim light. You do not yet understand, she finally said, her voice low, almost a whisper. But what you have done, it matters more than you know. In my world, actions like yours are not forgotten. They are remembered for a lifetime. Ethan tilted his head, puzzled. I just fixed your ship, that's all. Exactly, Lyra said, a gentle smile forming. And yet, it is everything. They worked together quietly, finalizing the last adjustments. No words were needed beyond the technical instructions. Every glance, every careful movement was a silent conversation. Ethan never realized it, but Lyra had already begun a process centuries in the making, the process of choosing a life mate. As night fell over Calira 7, Ethan stood back and admired the ship, now fully operational. Lyra activated the engines and the ship hummed to life, lights shining like stars themselves. Thank you, she said softly, for everything. Ethan shrugged again. Just doing my job. Safe travels, princess. Lyra studied him one last time before stepping into the cockpit. The engines roared, lifting her ship off the ground. She waved briefly, then shot into the night sky, leaving a trail of shimmering light behind. Ethan watched until she disappeared from view, unaware of the silent bond that had formed between them. In the quiet aftermath, he felt satisfied, tired, and a little exhilarated. But he had no idea that his simple act of fixing a ship had set events in motion that would change the course of interstellar history. High above, among the stars, Lyra's mind was already racing with plans, questions, and realizations. She had found a candidate, someone who might be her life mate, and nothing, not even the vastness of space, would allow her to ignore it. For Ethan, it was just another day on a strange planet. For Lyra, it was the beginning of a story that would span worlds and lifetimes. And so, in the silence of a desert planet, a human engineer unknowingly captured the attention of an alien princess, and the wheels of destiny began to turn. The sun rose over Calira 7, painting the jagged cliffs with gold and crimson. Ethan Vance woke in his small temporary camp, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. The night had been quiet, but he couldn't shake a strange sense of anticipation. Something about the events of yesterday didn't feel ordinary. He had fixed a mysterious ship, helped a mysterious princess, and yet in his mind it all seemed like another day's work. Meanwhile, far above the planet in orbit, Princess Lyra observed from her restored ship. She had spent the night reviewing her data logs and watching the scans of the planet's surface. The human engineer intrigued her. There was a rare honesty in his movements, a clear pattern of thinking and acting without self-interest. Lyra had seen many beings over the centuries, warriors, inventors, diplomats, but humans were unpredictable. Unpredictability could be dangerous, yes, but it could also be extraordinary. Lyra's people had a tradition of selecting lifemates through observation, testing, and understanding. Words were meaningless without action. She had seen Ethan act without concern for reward, without hesitation when faced with danger. That alone had captured her attention. But now she needed to be certain. Descending to Kalira 7's surface again, she decided to create a series of trials. They would not be harmful, but they would test courage, intelligence, and empathy, the key qualities her people sought in a lifemate. Ethan would not know what these trials truly were. Ethan's day began normally. He was checking his tools when a holographic alert blinked on his wrist device. A small, shimmering light appeared in the dust nearby. Curious, he approached and discovered a miniature puzzle box left at the edge of the canyon. It was intricate, metallic, with patterns he had never seen. Before he could examine it closely, a soft, melodic voice called out from the air around him. "Solve it if you can," it said. Ethan froze. "Lyra?" he asked hesitantly. There was no sign of the ship, yet the voice was unmistakably hers. "You must understand," the voice continued. "It is not enough to fix things as they appear. You must understand them first." Ethan frowned, studying the puzzle box. His curiosity flared. He loved engineering, logic, and challenges. Carefully, he examined each moving part, each interlocking pattern. Hours passed as he worked through trial and error, experimenting with the mechanisms. Sweat dripped from his forehead, and his hands became covered in grease and dust. Finally, with a satisfying click, the puzzle box opened, revealing a glowing crystal. The light was gentle, warm, and resonated in Ethan's chest in a way he couldn't explain. "Well," Ethan muttered, holding it carefully, "I guess I solved it." A soft laugh echoed through the canyon. "Clever, patient, you observe before acting. That is rare among humans." Ethan blinked. "Thanks, I think." Lyra did not answer directly. She was pleased. Observation, patience, ingenuity, qualities she prized. He had passed the first trial. Over the next few days, Lyra presented more challenges, each subtly woven into their interactions. She accidentally spilled alien tools, watching how he responded. He didn't complain or ignore them. Instead, he picked up the pieces carefully, cataloged what had fallen, and returned everything to its proper place. Next, she created a small scenario involving local wildlife. A group of native creatures, small, delicate, and shy, were placed near the ship. Lyra observed Ethan from a distance, waiting to see whether he would respect them, harm them, or exploit them. Ethan knelt carefully, speaking in soft tones as he approached the creatures. He used his knowledge of biology and engineering to repair a small shelter that had been damaged by the storm, making sure the creatures were safe. He did not rush. He did not ignore them. Lyra's eyes widened. Human ingenuity was remarkable, but human empathy was rarer still. This trial revealed a balance few beings possessed, the ability to act logically and compassionately at the same time. One evening, as the twin moons of Kalira 7 rose, a more dangerous test appeared. Lyra guided Ethan to a cliff overlooking a deep canyon. "Something lies within," she said, her voice calm but serious. "Retrieve it." Ethan looked down. Far below, he could see a fragment of alien technology glowing faintly. The canyon was treacherous, loose rocks, narrow paths, and strong winds. Any misstep could send him tumbling. I can do this," he said, though a shiver ran down his spine. Lyra remained silent. She was watching, noting every step, every decision. Ethan moved carefully, testing each foothold, adjusting his grip, and using his engineering tools to create temporary supports. Hours passed. He nearly slipped once but recovered with a quick calculation and a steady hand. At last he reached the fragment and secured it. When he returned to the top, Lyra's soft glow of approval was unmistakable. "Courage," she said. "Quick thinking, calm under pressure." "You are exceptional," Ethan exhaled, exhausted but satisfied. "I guess that's good." "It is more than good," she replied. "It is rare." As the trials continued, a bond quietly formed between them. Ethan remained unaware of the significance. Believing these were curious exercises from a princess he barely understood. Lyra, however, had begun to consider him seriously as a lifemate. One day, while they worked on recalibrating the ship's navigation systems, Lyra spoke more openly. "Humans, you are fascinating. You think fast, adapt faster, yet you care. That is not common," Ethan shrugged. "We have to. Life can be unpredictable. You adapt or you fail." "That's how I was taught." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "And yet you are different, you are honest, you act without deceit, you act for others, not yourself." Ethan laughed softly. "I just do what's right, I guess. Doesn't always feel special." Lyra's gaze softened. "It is special. To us, your qualities are precious, more precious than you realize." Tension rose when a rival faction, scavengers aware of Lyra's presence, arrived near the canyon. They were after the ship, hoping to claim it and capture the princess for leverage. Ethan noticed them first, thanks to his careful observations. "Lyra, something's coming," he warned, checking the scanners. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Prepare. Show me what you are capable of." Ethan moved quickly, using his knowledge of human tactics and improvisation. He rigged energy nets from the ship's discarded components, created decoy signals to confuse the scavengers, and manipulated the terrain to their advantage. When the rival drones approached, they were met with unexpected resistance. Lyra watched silently, impressed. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but this unpredictability combined with ingenuity made them formidable. Ethan's calm and clever thinking saved the ship, neutralizing the threat without causing harm. When the danger passed, Lyra finally spoke. "You are remarkable. Not only clever but brave and careful with life. This is rare. In our world, very rare." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "I just did what needed to be done, that's all." Lyra smiled faintly, but her eyes betrayed her thoughts. He had passed every trial. Every challenge she had presented to test courage, intellect, and empathy had been met with skill and integrity. That night, as Ethan prepared to rest, he noticed Lyra staring at the stars above the canyon. "What is it?" he asked. "I am thinking," she said softly. "Thinking about you and what you represent. Humans, you may be young in the universe, but you hold qualities my people have treasured for millennia. Ingenuity, courage, honor, compassion." Ethan chuckled nervously. "You make it sound like I'm some hero or something. I'm not." "No," Lyra replied, "you are more. Perhaps one day you will understand how much you mean, not only to me but to what may come." Ethan tilted his head, puzzled. "To what may come?" "You will see," Lyra said, her voice calm yet full of purpose. "For now, rest. The trials are not over, but you have done well. Very well." Ethan lay down, staring at the twin moons, feeling both exhausted and strangely exhilarated. He didn't realize that each step, each decision, each act of patience or courage was quietly tipping the scales of destiny. And high above, Lyra continued to watch, her mind running calculations, comparisons, and assessments. Ethan had passed more than simple tests. He had shown the qualities of a lifemate. The decision was forming in her heart, quiet but firm, as the night wrapped around them like a soft cloak. The trials of character were only the beginning. The story of the human engineer and the alien princess was far from over, and the universe was watching. The morning sun rose over Kalira 7, casting long shadows over the canyon where Ethan Vance had been resting. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of alien flora that clung stubbornly to the rocky cliffs. Ethan rubbed his eyes and stretched, still marveling at the strange events of the past days. He had repaired a damaged ship, solved complicated puzzles, protected creatures, and even navigated treacherous cliffs. Yet, despite all of it, he remained unaware of the deeper significance of his actions. High above, Princess Lyra hovered in her restored ship, watching him from orbit. The tests had been completed successfully, and she had observed more than mere skill. Ethan had shown ingenuity, courage, and a calm mind in the face of danger. But more importantly, he had demonstrated understanding, patience, and empathy, qualities that her people held in the highest regard. She had begun to see the possibility that he might be more than just a skilled human engineer. He might be the lifemate her people had awaited for generations. Lyra decided it was time to engage more directly. She descended from orbit, landing near Ethan's camp in a soft glow that disturbed neither the creatures nor the landscape. When Ethan saw her, he instinctively straightened. "Lyra, you're back. I thought you left for your mission." "I did," she replied, her voice calm and even. "But the mission, it can wait. I need to speak with you." Ethan tilted his head, puzzled. "About what?" Lyra hesitated for a moment. Choosing words carefully, she said, "About your actions, about what you have done, about who you are." Ethan laughed nervously. "I'm just an engineer, that's all I've done." "No," Lyra said softly, stepping closer. "You have done more. You have shown qualities that few beings, human or alien, possess. You think fast, you act with integrity, you care for others. You are remarkable." Ethan shook his head, smiling awkwardly. "I don't know about remarkable, I just try to do what's right." Lyra's eyes softened. "That is what makes you remarkable." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyra worked closely on the ship systems. She taught him about Caliran technology, showing how their propulsion systems operated using energy currents he had never imagined. In return, Ethan shared simple yet clever engineering solutions from human science, improving efficiency and durability in ways the Calirans had overlooked. The more they worked together, the more Ethan realized how different their cultures were. Lyra's society valued patience, observation, and honor above all else, while humans prized ingenuity, action, and personal responsibility. Sometimes, these differences caused small conflicts. Ethan would suggest a rapid solution to a problem, and Lyra would insist on careful analysis. At first, he grew frustrated. Why couldn't she see the obvious answer? But soon, he noticed a pattern. Her methods were slower but more reliable. Every decision she made was deliberate, tested against centuries of tradition and wisdom. Her world was not chaotic like his, but highly structured. He began to appreciate the precision and care she valued, even if it frustrated him at first. "Why do you take so long to decide?" Ethan asked one afternoon as they recalibrated the ship's energy shields. "Because every decision has consequences," Lyra replied, her eyes focused on the console. "A small mistake can affect not just one life but many. You humans act quickly but sometimes without seeing the bigger picture." Ethan nodded slowly. "I think I understand. There's value in planning even if it feels slow." "Exactly," Lyra said, a small smile on her lips. "And there is value in action even if it seems hasty. Together, we can balance each other." Their growing partnership, however, drew attention. Unbeknownst to Ethan, a rival alien faction had tracked Lyra's ship to Kalira 7. These beings were part of a powerful empire that opposed the Caliran monarchy, seeking to capture Lyra for political leverage. They did not know the human's role, but they assumed any ally near her could pose a threat. One evening, as Ethan was repairing a minor issue in the ship's propulsion system, his scanners picked up a sudden surge of energy. "Lyra," he called, eyes widening. "We've got company, multiple ships approaching fast." Lyra's expression darkened. "They have found us." "Prepare yourself, Ethan. This will test everything you have learned." Ethan's mind raced. The rival faction had superior technology and numbers, but he had human ingenuity on his side. He quickly analyzed the terrain, noting narrow canyons, rocky outcrops, and natural energy conduits in the cliffs. He devised a plan, using the ship's energy systems to create illusions and decoys. Lyra watched silently as Ethan worked. He modified the shields to emit pulses that confused the enemy sensors, and he rigged the canyon with temporary barriers and false paths. Every move was calculated to give them the advantage, despite being outnumbered. The enemy ships arrived, sleek and menacing. They fired probes to scan the canyon, searching for Lyra's location, but Ethan's adjustments worked. The sensors were thrown off and the enemy ships became disoriented. "You are clever," Lyra said softly, awe in her voice. "Human creativity is astonishing." Ethan grinned nervously. "Thanks, I hope it's enough." It was enough. Using the temporary pathways and energy decoys, Ethan guided Lyra's ship through the canyon safely. They emerged behind the enemy, who were now confused and unable to follow. Using a combination of misdirection and human problem-solving, they escaped without a single shot fired. Lyra's eyes shone with admiration. "You saved us, not just the ship but me. Your courage, it is rare among humans." Ethan laughed nervously. "I just did what I had to. I didn't think about being brave. I just acted." "That is what makes you brave," Lyra replied. "Bravery is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it." After the encounter, Lyra brought Ethan to a high plateau overlooking the red plains of Kalira 7. "You see that?" she said, pointing to the distant horizon where the suns began to set. "That is our world, and you have become a part of it even if you do not know it yet." Ethan stared, awestruck. I don't understand. I'm just a human engineer. I fix things, that's it." Lyra turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting the twin suns. "You have done more than fix things. You have proven qualities my people value above all else. Ingenuity, courage, compassion, you possess them all, and that is why you matter." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had never thought of himself as remarkable, let alone someone who could influence an alien culture. Yet, standing there with Lyra, he began to realize that perhaps his actions did have meaning beyond what he had imagined. Lyra continued, "In my world, a lifemate is chosen not by words but by deeds, by how one acts in the face of challenges, by how one treats others. You have passed the trials, Ethan. You have shown that you are worthy." Ethan blinked, shocked. "Lifemate me? You mean you're serious?" "I am," Lyra said softly, her glow brighter in the twilight. "I did not choose lightly. My people have traditions that span centuries, and yet I find myself drawn to you, not for who you are expected to be, but for who you truly are." Ethan swallowed hard, trying to process the revelation. He had spent his life fixing machines, solving problems, and thinking logically. He had never imagined that his actions, small, quiet, and often unnoticed, could lead to something so profound. I don't know what to say," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm honored, of course, but this is overwhelming." Lyra reached out, her hand hovering near his. "You do not need to say anything now. Actions speak louder than words. And your actions have already spoken, louder than you know." For the first time, Ethan truly understood the depth of what had been happening. Every small choice, every careful repair, every act of courage and kindness had mattered. It had been noticed, evaluated, and remembered. And now, standing beside Lyra, he realized that he was no longer just a human engineer on a distant planet. He was a part of something larger, a story that spanned worlds, cultures, and lifetimes. As night fell and the stars of Kalira 7 twinkled overhead, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The trials of character were complete, but the real challenge, understanding each other's worlds, blending cultures, and facing the future together, was only beginning. And high above the planet, Lyra's mind was already planning. She would introduce him to her people, explain his significance, and guide him through the traditions of her world. But she knew deep down that the human before her had qualities that could change not only her life, but the course of history. Together, they had survived storms, tests, and rival factions. Together, they had discovered trust, courage, and respect. And together, they would face the next stage, the collision of two worlds, two cultures, and two hearts destined to intertwine. The journey was far from over. The twin suns of Kalira 7 rose together, casting a warm, golden glow across the jagged cliffs and sprawling plains. Ethan Vance stood at the edge of the plateau, his eyes tracing the horizon where the skies met the red sands. He had spent weeks on this strange planet, repairing a damaged ship, solving alien puzzles, and facing unexpected challenges alongside Princess Lyra. He still could hardly believe how much his life had changed in such a short time. Lyra approached silently, her glowing silver skin shimmering in the sunlight. She had been watching him as he observed the landscape, and her mind was filled with both anticipation and hope. Today was the day she would formally invite Ethan into her world, explaining the traditions of her people and the significance of what she had already seen in him. "You are ready," Lyra said softly, her voice melodic as ever, "to understand and perhaps to choose." Ethan turned to her, puzzled. "Choose? I thought all of this was just part of helping you fix your ship." Lyra smiled gently. "It began that way, but it has become much more. You have passed trials that reveal character, courage, and compassion. In my world, these are qualities of a lifemate, and now I must explain what that means." They moved to the ship, its hull gleaming in the morning light. Lyra guided Ethan through the entrance, and inside the controls and displays illuminated with a soft glow. She began to explain the traditions of the Calaran Empire, where lifemates were chosen not by words or appearances, but by deeds, consistency, and the ability to act with wisdom and integrity. "In my world," Lyra explained, "a lifemate is someone who balances strength with compassion, intelligence with patience, and courage with care. The process of selection is quiet but deliberate. It is based on observation and trust, not chance or pressure." Ethan listened intently, trying to absorb the depth of what she was saying. "So, all of the things I did, the repairs, the puzzles, the cliff challenges, that was part of it?" "Yes," Lyra replied softly. "Each action revealed who you truly are. You did not know you were being tested, and that is what makes your actions genuine. This is rare and valued above all else in my culture." Ethan swallowed. I never thought of it like that. I was just helping, that's all." Lyra's eyes shone with quiet admiration. "That is exactly why you are remarkable. The ability to act without expectation, to help without thought of reward, this is what we seek." After explaining the traditions, Lyra led Ethan to a ceremonial chamber within her ship. The chamber was circular, with glowing panels projecting the stars of Kalira 7 into the room, creating a breathtaking view of the cosmos. At the center of the chamber stood a platform, a place where decisions of great importance were traditionally made. Lyra stepped forward. "Today, I formally invite you to consider joining my world, to understand our ways, our culture, and perhaps to become my lifemate." Ethan felt his heart race. He had never imagined that fixing a ship could lead to something like this. I don't know if I'm ready for that," he admitted honestly. "I'm just a human engineer. I don't even know your world." "You do more than know it," Lyra replied. "You understand it in the way that matters. You understand through action, through patience, and through integrity." "That is enough to begin." Ethan nodded slowly, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Okay, I want to try, I want to learn." Lyra's smile widened, though it remained calm and elegant. Good, then let us begin. Over the next several days, Ethan was introduced to the intricacies of Calaran society. He observed councils, participated in rituals, and learned the importance of balance, respect, and careful decision-making. Every lesson was accompanied by small tests, nothing dangerous, but enough to demonstrate how well he could integrate his human intuition with their traditions. He surprised many Calerans with his ingenuity. Simple engineering solutions and human problem-solving often improved efficiency in ways the aliens had not anticipated. Lyra observed silently, her pride evident. This human was not only adapting, he was thriving. One evening, during a quiet walk along the observation deck of the ship, Lyra spoke softly. "Ethan, I have observed you for weeks. Your actions have shown courage, wisdom, and care. You have saved lives, solved impossible problems, and yet remained humble. That is why you are worthy of consideration." Ethan looked at her, his emotions a mix of awe and uncertainty. I don't know what to say. I never expected this. I just did what felt right." "Exactly," Lyra replied. "That is what makes it right." The real test came unexpectedly. A communication arrived from the Calaran Council, confirming that rival factions still searched for Lyra. It was time for Ethan to demonstrate not only his intelligence and courage, but also his ability to act decisively under pressure, while respecting the traditions of Lyra's people. The council instructed Lyra and Ethan to lead a diplomatic mission to a nearby outpost to resolve tensions peacefully. Ethan quickly analyzed the situation, combining human problem-solving with Lyra's traditional methods. He proposed solutions that relied on negotiation, compromise, and clear demonstration of goodwill rather than force. Lyra observed with pride. His suggestions were unorthodox by Calaran standards, but they were effective. The outpost leaders accepted the proposals, impressed by the humans' ingenuity and integrity. "You did well," Lyra said softly once they returned. "You understand not only our methods but our values. You have proven yourself in ways both practical and honorable." Ethan shook his head, a humble smile on his face. "I just tried to help. I guess it worked." "Yes," Lyra said, her eyes glowing softly. "It worked. More than that, it shows that humanity has qualities my people respect deeply. Courage, intellect, and heart together in one being." Finally, the moment of choice arrived. In the ceremonial chamber, surrounded by Calaran elders and advisors, Lyra stood before Ethan. "You have proven yourself through deeds, courage, and wisdom. You have integrated human ingenuity with Calaran values. And now I offer you the choice to join me as my lifemate and continue this journey together." Ethan's heart raced. He looked at Lyra, then at the elders. He thought of the challenges, the adventures, the lessons, and the bond they had formed. He realized that this was no longer about a ship or a mission. It was about trust, connection, and shared purpose. I accept," he said finally, his voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside. "I want to learn, to grow, and to be part of your world, with you." A soft, warm glow radiated from Lyra. "Then it is done," she said. "You are now my lifemate. Together, we will face whatever the universe holds, as partners." The elders nodded in approval. The ceremony was simple yet profound, a blending of human humility and Calaran tradition. The bond between Lyra and Ethan was acknowledged, respected, and celebrated as a union of two worlds. In the days that followed, Ethan and Lyra continued to work and explore together. They shared knowledge, built new technologies, and strengthened their connection. Ethan's human ingenuity complemented Lyra's ancient wisdom, resulting in solutions that neither could have achieved alone. Ethan also discovered something remarkable. The Calaran people, once distant and formal, began to see humans in a new light. They were impressed by his integrity, courage, and creativity. The elders whispered that humanity, though young in the universe, could teach lessons even to the oldest civilizations. Lyra watched him with pride and affection. The trials had been successful, not just in determining suitability, but in forging a genuine partnership. She realized that Ethan's human qualities, curiosity, courage, patience, and humility, were exactly what her world needed, and perhaps what the galaxy itself needed. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Calira 7, Ethan and Lyra stood on the observation deck, looking out at the vast, star-strewn sky. Ethan turned to her. "I never thought fixing a ship could lead to all of this." Lyra smiled softly. "Actions matter, Ethan. Sometimes, small acts of care, courage, and intelligence change more than a single life. They can change worlds." Ethan took her hand, feeling the warmth of her glow and the quiet certainty that they were now connected in ways beyond understanding. "Then let's see where it takes us," he said, smiling. "Yes," Lyra whispered. "Together we will face the universe. Together we will discover what humans and Calorans can achieve." And so, a human engineer and an alien princess began their journey, not as hero and royalty, but as partners, lifemates, and pioneers. Together, they would explore new worlds, overcome challenges, and demonstrate that the best of humanity could shine across the stars. The universe was vast, full of mystery and danger, but also full of potential. And as Ethan and Lyra looked toward the horizon, they knew one thing with certainty. Together, there was no challenge they could not meet, no adventure they could not share, and no future they could not shape. Their story, born of courage, kindness, and ingenuity, was only just beginning. He fixed her ship in silence, not knowing the alien princess was choosing her lifemate.